that you've been asking about the bag. I thought...
Oh, is this the famous reveal? Here we go.
It is. I thought maybe we might get hungry and thirsty.
Oh, you weren't wrong.
Here is some local Briançon bread.
Fantastic.
I have some cheeses that are actually made in the farm, literally down on the piste when you come down from Briançon.
Well, that couldn't be much more local than either, could
It
it?
can't be much more local. And I thought maybe a sneaky little wine from the region. It's not from Briançon, but it's not far away. It's as close as we can really get.
And I see you've even got 2 glasses.
Oh, I think of everything.
It's almost as if you knew.
Hungry?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Bon appetit.
Well, while we sat here, you know, I've always heard about this Vauban guy and his deal. What's his deal?
What's Vauban's deal? I see. So this is going to be a working lunch for me.
Well, goes without saying.
Well, you know, for someone who lives in Briançon, Vauban is historically and traditionally associated with building fortified towns with defence. We tend to think of him as, those who even know his name, as defence, a defensive military engineer. But actually it's quite interesting that he really made his name the opposite. He made his name by attacking French towns.
He had murder holes.
He had murder holes, yeah. Well, he was trying to dodge murder holes, actually. He invented a system. He was a young, relatively unknown military engineer in 1673 when France were fighting against the Dutch. Oh, that's the best sound, isn't it?
We like that.
Fighting against the Dutch at the siege of Maastricht, and actually his very first act just about Vauban was to order, remember D'Artagnan, musketeer
Of
fame?
course. And he was a real guy.
He was a real guy. And he was an old musketeer at this particular siege, and Vauban ordered him to charge, and he was shot, actually, rather brutally with a bullet through the throat and was killed.
So Vauban kind of killed
D'Artagnan. That was his sort of first act. But 2 days later, Maastricht fell, and the town was taken. And not long after that, because of the expertise of Vauban, there was even a saying in France that a town laid siege to by Vauban is already a fallen town. So that is really sort of how
he had a good reputation.
He had founded on, got off to a shaky start with D'Artagnan, but after that, took off.
Well, let's see how this is. Salute.
Salute. Santé.
That works.
It certainly does.
You up for some cheese and bread?
Cheese and bread. Love some.
So he was basically attacking places, doing all that stuff, and then he turned this around.
Yeah, I mean, that's where he made his name. He had actually promised, Louis XIV was the French king at the time, and he had promised him that Maastricht would fall on the 24th of June, and he was 2 days late. But at the time, siege warfare was something that took months, if not years, and often the besieging army would give up and march off home. And within 13 days, I believe it was, Maastricht had fallen. So everyone sort of sat up and took notice of that. Louis XIV found out more about him, and then where he made his name. And of course, we are now sitting in the Cité de Vauban, one of more than 300 French towns that he helped fortify. It's just incredible. The man was a workaholic.
Busy guy.
Absolutely. He had a special sort of horse, not the horse, but a carriage made that was a sort of carriage come office where he could actually travel around France in, so he could be working as he was going between the various towns that he was fortifying.
So basically, Vauban wouldn't have complained that this was a working lunch. He would have just got on with it.
He'd have got on with it, yeah, absolutely.
Just saying.
He'd have been spreading out the plans and getting on with it. And then what he designed was these sort of star-shaped fortifications that we have right here in Briançon. A very intricate system of defense, making the cities more or less impregnable. He became very defensive. He believed that famous shape of France, you know, we know France is the hexagon, that was the ideal shape. That was the ideal shape of France
for
defense, and not to grow France, and was one of the few people supposedly who could actually sort of counter say whatever Louis XIV wanted to do. One of the few people he really listened to.
He had the king's ear.
He had the king's ear, and we have the king's tea.
the king's tea. That's nice. Do you want a bit of bread with that?
Does it come with a bit of bread? I think I'd love a bit of bread with that.
Take that. Excuse fingers.
Well, to Vauban.
To Vauban. It is an absolutely stunning day.
I mean, it really is. It is so beautiful. Of course, that's one of the other things that Briançon is famous for, its weather. It's just all seasons, the weather here is perfect, whether it's for winter with the snow, or whether it's summer or even spring like today with the sunshine.
And so that leads us on to these sundials.
So these sundials, for which the city is also very famous. You see where we are here in the square, we've got sundials either side of us, obviously facing the sun, the southern side. And two reasons for that. One is that we've got perfect sunshine here a lot of the time. And the other reason, of course, is that in the winter it gets very cold. If it gets very cold, if you've got clocks,
They freeze.
they freeze. And actually the people from Briançon were very good clock makers. They were able to do it, and they travelled throughout Europe making clocks, but they just didn't put them on the walls here.
Okay, so sundial, yeah, doesn't need any servicing.
Doesn't need any servicing.
You don't need to wind up the sun.
You don't need to, especially not here.
No, so
So, well, as the one behind us says, one of the most famous ones, Vita fugit sigur ombra, which means along the lines of life passes quickly for those who live in the shade. So, do you want to move on?
we should.
Ah, actually, turn around. I'd like to show you something. If you look over there, the direction from which we've come, what do you see up there?
Forts.
Forts. And you're right, spot on. And that really is the second part to this puzzle, to this defensive puzzle that Vauban created. The forts that you see around us were designed by Vauban. They were built after his death, after he passed away. But they are all part of, again, what makes this city so unique, what makes it impregnable. From those vantage points, we are surrounded by the high mountains. We are within late medieval cannon fire, cannon range. So if you take the high ground, doesn't matter how many fortifications you build around the city of Briançon itself, you just keep bombarding down and eventually you bash your way through.
Give up and.
So the logical thing, what Vauban did, was design forts up on the high grounds around that would protect the city.
Right.
And as you said rightly, forts, plural, there are up to about 20 forts that surround us now. When they build one, obviously, there's beyond that is another level of high ground, so you need to build another one on top of that to protect that one, and so on and so on. So it becomes like a sort of wedding cake of fort.
Multiplied.
They multiplied, and they are all around us in the direction of Italy, Savoie, in the direction back over the Col de l'Autoré. You have got forts protecting the entrance to the city.
So you'd kind of build one, you know, well, hold on, they can get to us from here, let's build one there, and so on, so on.
I mean, it's almost sort of Monty Python-esque, really. You just keep climbing and climbing and climbing. Now we need another one. But it made sense, and again, it made the city what it is today, impregnable.
Again, smart thinking.